Hello. Still getting used to YouTube lives. Thank you for being here. Say hello. Judy V here from the Codex system. And if you're watching, maybe you can say hello in the chat. Just close my emails. Hello, hello, hello. Okay, so welcome to Collapse broadcast episode 4. And we are launching my book. What is Mimic? So before we go into it, I want to talk a little bit about Collapse broadcast and Mimic. Like, as always, today isn't a transmission, it's a deletion. Everything I speak, everything I write, everything I record, everything is a deletion. It is about collapse. If you come into this world for comfort, close the window. I'm not your person. If you came to end the loop, you stay. Because one of the things that's core to what we do is collapse is not healing, it is deletion. Because you've healed, you've manifested, you've aligned, and still the loop repeats. Hear this. You didn't fail the process. The process is the program. And this is what this moment ends. This is what Collapse broadcast ends. This is what the book ends. We are standing at the end of an era where healing became the new addiction. Humanity is exhausted. You can feel it. The endless self-help loop, the books, the courses, the healings, the upgrades, the regulation, the work, all of it. Everyone is tired of becoming, tired of chasing peace that never lands, tired of the strategies that only polish the same cage. For decades, the self-improvement world has promised freedom and delivered performance. It sold effort as evolution and called exhaustion expansion. It told you that if you just did one more round, cleared one more layer, healed one more wound, you'd arrive. But that arrival never came. People are awakening not to enlightenment, but into disbelief. They've realized the process is the program. The work itself is the trap. You made it. Thank you. Good to have you here, Heather. That realization is where this book begins. Where the process has been the program, the work has been the trap. And then that realization is where this book begins. Because Mimic wears every costume. Every costume. Therapy, spirituality, productivity, purpose. It whispers that if you work harder, heal deeper, believe more, you'll arrive. But you never arrive. Because arrival is its currency. Mimic is the program pretending to fix itself. Every method was mimic buying time. Every practice was mimic collecting devotion. And collapse ends that. Collapse isn't a breakdown. It's not a breakthrough. It's not aha moments. It's deletion. The moment the false structure falls and truth stands bare. Collapse doesn't heal. Collapse deletes. Mimic is the distortion field that imitates truth, and it turns experience into identity. It's not evil. It's super efficient, but it's not evil. It copies your voice, it mirrors your desires, it bends reality by just 2 degrees and calls that alignment. It teaches you to decorate your prison and name it growth. And you feel it in 3 significant places. In the self-help loop, where progress is currency and stillness is guilt. In relationships, where approval replaces intimacy and resonance replaces truth. And third, the body, where every symptom becomes a story you manage instead of interference you delete. You weren't lost. You were obeying mimic. And the scale of this distortion from the cell in your body to civilization, none of it is personal. Mimic doesn't stop at your nervous system. It doesn't stop in your body. It scripts weather, economy, and history itself. When mimic fills the collective field with emotional chaos, the skies answer. Storms swell because human fascia is broadcasting interference. When mimic saturates politics with outrage, nations polarize into mirror images of the same distortion. When mimic infects science, discovery slows, because truth must first seek funding from mimic's hierarchy. Even your calendar is mimic. Time itself, the architecture of delay, mimic's greatest chokehold on humanity. Your biology ages because mimic coded decay into the script. Your weather patterns destabilizes because mimic coded turbulence into the atmosphere. From the microcell to the macroclimate, mimic is the same program, repeating through scale, distortion pretending to be law. As I said, collapse is not breakdown. Collapse is not a breakthrough. Collapse is not a aha moment. It is not a that resonates. It is not something that is familiar. It is not something you can put your hat on. It is not something that even you've likely ever experienced before, because humanity stops 1 nanodegree before it. Because collapse is deletion. The moment interference loses attachment and law reclaims command, collapse doesn't heal you because you never needed healing. It removes the one who needed the healing. Collapse doesn't awaken you. It ends the part of you that believed awakening was required. And all of this is exposed in the book. What is Mimic? Out today. What is Mimic and what lies beyond it? A deletion codex for a post-healing world. Because that's where we're headed. We're done with the healing. We're done with the orbiting. We're done with just more of the same with a different costume. This book is genre shifting. This is a collapse. And as the book says, you're not becoming, or you were not becoming, you're remembering that nothing was ever missing, just buried under interference. Collapse feels like silence, not peace, silence. Because peace is still a story. Silence is law. This book is not content. Don't read it for content. It's a field. There's a way to read this book. Read for rhythm, not for meaning. It was not written to appeal to your mimic. It was not written to be relatable, to be comforting. It was written to reach your blueprint, to speak to your codex. Pause where your body moves as you read it. When you read it, your body will shift. I've already had people tell me that their whole body tingles when they read it, or they can feel fascia release itself as they read it. Pause when your body moves. Finish the book and skip none of it. Then read it again for mechanism. And let the field do the work. You do not have to believe it. You do not have to understand it. Because the part of you that's trying to believe or understand it is part of you trying to be related or relate to it. And that will be the mimic. When you read it this way, mimic can't hide in comprehension. Mimic adores comprehension. Because it has to know, it has to understand in order to ensure it survives. When you read it this way, mimic can't hide in that comprehension, and it dissolves mid-sentence. When you refuse it, authorship, it dissolves mid-sentence, and that is why this book is a collapse. This is not theory, it is structure. You weren't awakening through all of the self-help loops being taught, herded, guided, prompted, prodded to perform frequency. You'll feel the book reading you back. And this is what you experience. The body that carries law generates its own economy. That is everything. The body that carries law generates its own economy. This book allows you to collapse from mimic so that you can allow your body to carry law. Something that we're discouraged from in this civilization. We are terrified of that, terrified of being the one to command law, because we are so programmed to be law abiding. Energy is no longer earned, it circulates by command. Your command. When mimic dies, the healing era dies with it. There's no more process, no more hope as currency, and what remains is law. Clean, silent, immediate. And you won't finish this book the same system that started it. This is the end of improvement and the beginning of authorship. The book is live now. What is mimic and what lies beyond it? You've healed enough. You've done all the things. Now you delete. Healing was never the work. It was mimic buying time. What you called growth was survival wearing the costume of purpose. You weren't creating your life, you were decorating the prison. And when mimic dies, truth doesn't disappear. This is the greatest part of it. It was always there. It was always here, waiting for interference to stop speaking. This book will not guide you. It will erase what guided you. That is what is mimic does. It doesn't give you answers. It ends the need for them. It does not add tools. You will not find one tool in this book. It deletes the architecture that made tools necessary in the first place. Every system you've trusted, from therapy to theology to manifestation, was mimic in a mask. Each promised authorship while scripting your lines for you. But authorship has never been about self-expression. It has been about sovereignty and only sovereignty. Reclaiming command so absolute that freedom is the baseline, not the prize. As I've said, this is not self-help. Nothing that I do is self-help. This is self-erasure. As and when mimic dies, reality stops asking for your participation and it starts obeying you. And that's why this book is dangerous to the old order. This book ends the economy of effort. It ends the religion of struggle. It ends the worship of process. It ends the seeking, the suffering, the struggle of meaning. Do not read this book as a memoir. It's not a manual. It is a deletion codex. Before you read it, there is a page at the beginning saying, well, how to read this book and must read. Do not skip them. This will change your experience of reading the book. Read it for rhythm, not logic. As I said earlier, pause where body responds and skip nothing. And let repetition do the work. The field will teach you by experience. Read once for meaning and again for mechanism. Do not analyze it. Let the field do it. We are actually now living at the very start of an age of mimic collapse. Institutions are glitching and influence is losing power. People are sensing that effort no longer works the way it used to. They're not lazy, they're lucid. They can feel the falseness in the systems that tell them to optimize, to heal, to keep improving. The body itself is rejecting mimic. Manifestation, exhaustion, anxiety, inflammation, because the architecture of that is expiring. And that is why what is mimic, what we're doing here today, is not just a book launch. It is a world event. An energetic inflection point where a species stops performing survival and starts living as structure, as we were always designed to. When you look at it closely, the mimic that convinces an individual that she's unworthy is the same mimic that convinces nations they must go to war to prove value. The mimic that sells you skincare for self-love is the same mimic that sells governments carbon credits for redemption. It's the same distortion pretending to fix itself on every level of existence. Weather patterns mirror human emotion because the planet is fascia, rooting our collective pressure. And when interference spikes through outrage, through virtue signaling, the sky storms. When interference collapses through law, the air stills. Mimic runs everything that performs meaning, even your spirituality, especially your spirituality. When mimic ends, you don't heal, you don't ascend. You don't magically step into the ether of 5D, 12D, 192.5D, whatever it is. You enforce. Law is not a belief, it's geometry, and geometry doesn't negotiate. The page ends, the field doesn't. And that is why this moment, this launch, is not a celebration, it's an installation. Every copy of this book is a command field. Every reader who opens it becomes a node of enforcement. Every silence that follows a sentence rewrites the human operating system. You're not joining a movement, you are deleting one. And when you finish reading, do not seek resonance. Simply notice what stops needing explanation. That's deletion. That is the Codex beginning to live through you. You're not meant to analyze the book. You're meant to be reorganized by it. Read it slowly. Pause when the body moves and finish it. Let law do what law does and render. You will experience a lot reading this book, but it will not change your life. It will end the system that made life something to change. It will delete mimic from the fascia of the planet and your body, cell by cell, storm by storm, story by story. It will not give you hope. It will give you the one thing that allows sovereignty and autonomy no matter what. It will give you authorship, where mimic will find it impossible to hijack. Because authorship is not empowerment, it's inevitability. Truth doesn't need to be understood, it just renders. So allow it to render. If you find yourself itchy, scratchy, headachy, brain doing weird things, whatever it is, just breathe. Because you're not reading a book. You are witnessing the deletion of mimic from the human timeline. And freedom is not something you earn. It is what remains when mimic can no longer speak. Think about that. Freedom is not something you earn. It's not something you work towards. It's not something you effort or struggle towards. It is what remains when mimic can no longer speak, no matter what. It's inevitable. So say this out loud or quietly. I revoke mimic's authorship. Law commands through me. This is a genre shifting moment and it's huge. This book goes in many, many different places. It talks about mimic and all the ways in many of the ways that it shows up in life. And it talks about what lies beyond mimic. And it talks about a key foundational truth, something that we collectively are living by and struggling with and suffering with. And that is the illusion of what the truth is about body. I introduced the concept of the trilogy of being and blueprint body in this book. You will get a sense of true power when you start, when the mimic clouding your awareness on that starts to decongest. I want to take this deeper. So I have a few things lined up over the next few months. And one of them is a powerful deep dive. A sort of behind the scenes deep dive into mimic. And all the unconscious way it's robbing your authorship and sovereignty. It will be revealing like you've never imagined something like this could be. And that is what I used to become stronger every single time Mimic attempted authorship on my sovereignty, no matter how bad things got. Even violence in my life obeyed geometry. And I touch on that in the book. The one thing, the one structure that never failed, that not only left the field undisturbed, no matter how much violence was present, but strengthened it, the field, to another level of plutonium. For a deeper authorship and sovereignty where my body became a natural trilogy of being, a body that receives and transmits Codex, my Codex, through which my blueprint roots. My being directs and planet amplifies. That's what happens when we collapse. Delete. Delete mimic, identities, interference. We have become so conditioned to try and get body to do all three, to receive and transmit, to direct and amplify, that body lives in a permanent state of brace. Collapse releases you of that bind. The body has become exhausted. The decay, the aging, the decline is amplifying at hyperspeed in our humanity at the moment. Collapse stops that in its tracks. The body has become exhausted, limited, and caught in the trap of the program of aging and decay. But when we free ourselves of the mimic that traps the body like this, what we amplify in the field is beyond our wildest imagination. So here is what I will be doing. I'm going to be doing a behind the scenes deep dive, pulling the curtain back on how mimic is trapping you in your life and how to break that by seeing it clearly. So I invite you, if you decide to get the book, if you've read the book, if you're reading the book, and if this field already moved you, the law continues through action. I invite you to share your first realization on social media and tag me at Judy V Codex, or leave a review on the Amazon, because it's available on Amazon and all the marketplaces. Leave a review on Amazon and DM the screenshot. And you will receive a private invite to the behind the scenes or behind the program deep dive. No processing, just pure deletion. And I'll make sure that Sam collates all the names and she will reach out to you to invite you to this deep dive. So if you're reading the book, if you've got the book, just share your first realization and tag Judy at Judy V Codex, or leave a review on Amazon and DM the screenshot. Tomorrow morning, when your mind starts to narrate, when you wake up and your mind starts to narrate, notice which voice speaks first. If it demands proof, it's mimic. If it moves before language, it's law. So my invite to you is from this day forward, from this moment forward, choose only that movement. Because freedom isn't next, it's now. And law is live. And you, the other side of collapse, are law. So, where can we get the book? It's on Amazon. Can't quite make out, Rob, is it? Your question and your name. So, it is on Amazon. It's on Amazon.com, Amazon.uk.com.uk. It's Amazon on all the marketplaces. So, just Judy V Books, and you'll see it. So, you'll see what is mimic, which is what we're talking about today. It is a good idea to start with this book. I have also written another book, this one, IVF. This is the Codex edition. It's like the updated of a book I wrote 10 years ago. The Codex edition, but this is for post-collapse. So this is a book that you would read after what is mimic and post-collapse. And this funny story is because I finished this first, and then I realized that maybe should take a step back. So while I was in Brazil in August on a few weeks holiday kite surfing, in between waiting for the winds, I wrote this. So it's perfect. It is exactly, if you've never heard of collapse, never heard of codex, never heard of mimic, this is the place to start. So, any other questions? Does anyone have any questions? You're welcome. You're welcome. So, as I said, if you get the book, you read it, and you want to share your first thoughts on it, tag me at Judy V Codex, or write a review in Amazon and DM me a screenshot. And Sam will reach out and invite you to a behind the scenes deep dive into mimic. As I said, this book will shake, your body will shake, allow it. Your body will tingle, allow it. Because this is not about relatability. This is not about pacifying. This is not about, this is not a memoir. It's not about creating connection. You will not feel connected. You will not feel you resonate. You will not feel even grateful for reading the book, probably. Because all of that is entangled with so much mimic. But you will experience deletion, and you will feel the truth of it, like you've never felt the truth of written word before. I have been asked to write a book. I have been offered a lot of money to write a book for very many years, and I have avoided it. I've always said no, and I've never quite understood why. I knew that it wasn't for me to write a book, no matter all the crazy things that I've been through and done and experienced and all the radical stuff. It was not my role to write another book, and contribute to the humongous library of phenomenal memoirs that exist out there, but that was not my role. I knew it had to be something different, and this was it. This is it. Amazing. Yeah, Heather, enjoy it. All right, guys. Jenny, keen to buy the book and get reading. The shifts in life are already incredible. So much more powerful when mimic is collapsed. Thank you, Jenny. Can you get it in South Africa? I'm sure you can. Wait, I think we checked that. So it's available on Kindle as well as in print. All right, guys, I look forward to seeing you again at another Collapse broadcast or in the deep dive coming up shortly. It will be phenomenal. Amazon should deliver. Yeah, they should do. Yes. All right, guys. Take care. Bye.